blueprint can be beautiful. It can be detailed. It can show exactly what we want to build. But a blueprint sitting on a table never becomes a house. At some point, somebody has to start building. And for the last few weeks, we have been building our money blueprint. Today, we move from knowing the plan to living the plan. Hello, stewards. Welcome back to yet another episode of Bolts and Nuts of Financial Wellness. I am Ruth Kiragot, and as always, thank you for joining me on this journey. This is where we learn together, we build together, and we become better stewards of what has been entrusted unto us. Before we begin today's conversation, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Now, let's get into today's conversation. The heart of this episode is I have learned the principles, I have chosen my tool, now I have to live it. I have learned the principles. I have chosen my tool. Now I have to live it. And of course, we do have a Bible passage today. And the Bible verse is James 1:22. And I will read it. James 1:22 says, "But be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. But be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourself." James is speaking about responding to God's word with action. It's not about budgeting. So this verse is not about budgeting, but I want to use this principle as well, that learning that never becomes an action remains incomplete. And for this episode, the transition is simple. We have spent the month learning, and now we want to put what we have learned into practice. Let me do a recap. So in the month of August, I have taught about money blueprint. And the first episode in August was about vision. Where am I going? I already know my vision. And my vision is actually the journey that I decided to take, a 7 years journey into retirement. I plan to retire in 7 years. And my journey, that's what my vision is. And so I'm planning to prep myself for retirement. Then we have money blueprint 2, which is priority or assignment. So in this episode, the second episode in the month of August, we discussed about seasons, and that we all are in different seasons. And in that season, there's a priority. Then once you get to know what your priority is, then you will assign your money according to your priority, according to that priority. Meaning you want to know where your money is going and how it's fulfilling your priority in your season. Then we have the third episode in the month of August, and we called it FIT, which budgeting tool helps me manage my money in this season. Now, with today's episode, which is the fourth episode in regards to money blueprint, is consistency. Can I actually live the plan? So today I want to stop talking about budgeting only in theory and show you how I'm putting it into practice in my own life. For my budgeting tool, I have chosen zero-based budgeting. And as I mentioned in the last episode, why this fits for me. I have a specific goal. And in this season, my specific goal is to be debt-free by the end of October, so that when November starts, then I can start putting more money to my retirement account. So I want visibility. I want to know where my money is going. I want to compare the plan versus the actual. I do not want available money sitting without a purpose. Zero does not mean I spend everything. Zero means I assign everything. Giving gets an assignment. My bills get an assignment. My debt gets an assignment. My savings and investments get an assignment. Enjoyment can get an assignment. So in the last 6 months, so between January and June, I pulled all my transactions to review how I was doing. And I thought I knew my spending because I had familiar numbers in my head. But pulling those transactions, they showed me the reality. For example, my convenience or eating out, my subscription, my purchases, my transportation, the utilities, buying the household, groceries. I thought I was estimating them, but I found that I was actually spending twice of what I had estimated to spend. And not everything that I discovered that was a financial leakage. No, I discovered a behavior that I needed to change. I also discovered that there are some budgets, numbers that need to be increased because they were simply unrealistic. The key lesson that I want us to learn here is a good budget has to be honest about real life. A good budget has to be honest about your real life. Now, let's build my actual September budget. And by the way, you don't have to know how to build a spreadsheet from scratch. AI can help you do that. So I have prepared 3 prompts for you. I taught 3 frameworks, the 3 budgets that one can choose: 50, 30, 20 budget. Then there's the pay yourself fast. And then there's the zero-based budgeting, which is what we are going to use today. So I've prepared those 3 prompts for you, and I will put the 3 prompts in the description below, and simply choose the budgeting method that fits your season. Copy the prompt and paste it in ChatGPT or any other AI tool that you use, and ask it to create the spreadsheet for you. Then customize it to fit your income, your responsibility, your priorities, and your season. I want to show you what I'm actually doing for September. And let me share my screen here. Okay, this is a template. Actually, I used a prompt because I didn't want to build a spreadsheet from scratch. So I use a prompt and voila, ChatGPT was able to give me a spreadsheet. I love it. And it actually comes with how to use it. So it's quite good. I am loving the technologies nowadays. It allows you to work faster. So that's good. So I am sharing my zero-based budget, monthly budget template. So this is a template that I'm going to use for the month of September. So of course I put the September at the top there because this is for the month of September. So I plan on using the same template every single month. So I am going to share my actual expenses for the month. However, I will not share my income. I will keep that private. I am sure you will understand why. And what in my template, what I have is the fixed monthly assignments and the variable monthly assignments. Then I also have the planned non-monthly assignments. So at the top here of this section, it's actually giving us the total of what is below here, because I have the 3 sections down and then they're all summed up at the top here. So the first thing is the monthly income. This is why you would indicate your monthly income. If you have a secondary income, and in secondary income could be a second job. It could be a side gig that you do. Sometimes I do bookkeeping on the side, so I do get clients now and then. So that becomes my secondary income. My planned income, that's my salary. That's the one that is a fixed salary that comes every single month. Twice a year in January as well as July, we do get a bonus. Actually, the bonus is declared in January, but you get the half in January and you also get the other half in July. And so that can also be indicated here as other income. So you indicate what you plan that is coming to you. And then remember when I taught about reviewing at the end of the month, when you're tracking within the month, and then also at the end of the month, you indicate the actual amounts and then you see the difference. And I'll talk about that later in this episode. So I have listed my fixed monthly assignments. This fixed cost, these are cost or expenses that I know they don't change month to month. These are fixed. The giving right now, I have reduced it to 400. And the reason for that, I do follow Dave Ramsey. And one of the things that Dave Ramsey says is that giving has to be stopped when you're trying to pay debt. So it is always good to live within your means whereby you don't have debt, because when you have debt, guess what? You're also taken away from the giving category. So in this case, because we do have a program for family seeds that we support in Kenya, where we have students that we are paying school fees for. We also have a program for the widow and widowers, whereby we give them a monthly stipend for their groceries every month. So that is an ongoing program that we have in Kenya. So that one cannot be taken away. And then I also I've reduced the giving that I do in church. However, as soon as my debt is paid in October, then the giving will go back to 10%. I will not discuss the percentages on this. That is something that I may start a series in the month of September. The percentages, what is out there, what is recommended, so that at least can give you more information. So my giving, I'm giving it at 2,400. The rent I pay is 2,400. Then there's the car insurance, and I have a praise on this one. My car insurance was 138 and some cents last month. Then I called my agent and I said, can you shop around and see whether we can get a new rate? And indeed, we got a new rate, and I'm actually saving $50 every month. Then there's a life insurance that I pay for. It's a term life insurance. And then my phone bill, And then we have the internet. We have Netflix as a subscription. I have a YouTube as a subscription. And then there's a debt payment to IRS. Yes, apparently Uncle Sam still gets some from me, but this is the last year that he is getting a part of my income. And then, of course, there's a YouTube video edit. So the episodes that I bring to you, I was able to source out somebody, and his name is David Wanda, who does a wonderful job in editing my episodes every week. So all these costs that I'm showing here, these are fixed. They don't change. Every month, I expect the same expenses to be, I expect the same expenses every month. So this is the plant. I've already put the plant. And then now we come to the third section, which is the variable monthly assignments. Variable meaning it is not fixed. I can spend more, or maybe sometimes I can spend less. However, what I have indicated as planned is the maximum that I plan to use. So for example, grocery, I have given it 300. Grocery, normally I give it 500, but in the month of August, I was able to do an overhaul of meat where I bought in wholesale. I bought meat that at least will last us for the next 2 months. That being the case, then I reduced my grocery this month. For the month of September, I have reduced this to 300, and I know October as well, I may use the same 300. And then, of course, the gas or transportation that I get, the expense for transportation, then there is also electricity. You never know how much electricity that you're going to use. So that's why it is variable. Sometimes it can be less. In the month of August, it was 100. However, I've just been alone in the house. My daughter, the youngest daughter, is coming back this week. So that means maybe our usage will go high. However, I've planned to go to a maximum of 200. And then, of course, the water, Hannah, that's my youngest daughter. I normally use 110 every month on her hair. And then my hair, I use $200 on my hair. And then we do budget $100 for dining out. We have this tradition before starting a school year. We all have to sit and dine together so that we can discuss the goals that we plan to achieve in the next school year. And because school starts on 1st of September, so we do have our special place that we always go to. That's a cheesecake factory. So we'll go sit down, we eat, and then we discuss our goals. We will write our goals and then discuss it while we're eating. This has always been our tradition for the longest. For all the kids, I have young adults, a first year in college and a third year in college. This has always been our tradition. Before going back to school, we get to dine together. However, for this year, it's for this year and this month, actually, not this year, but for this month, it will be Hannah and myself, because it's only Hannah who is with me. The rest are in college. And then the fourth section is a planned non-monthly assignment. This is actually very important to me. This is where I look at what am I planning, or what expenses do I foresee that I'm going to incur either in the future within this year, or something that I need to keep in the radar. So for example, the car maintenance, I need to do an oil change in October. Then the drinking water delivery, I already have too much water, so I foresee us getting another delivery in October 31st. Clothing is one I know for sure that will be incurred in September with back to school. Then I need to buy more uniform for my daughter, Hannah. Then travel and vacation, my birthday is in October 19th, so we will have to do a mini vacation with my Hannah. Then the school expenses, the good thing about the school that Hannah goes to, it's a private school. We don't have expenses other than school fees. And I allocated that part of the bonus that comes in January and comes in July, it actually pays for the school fees, because the school fees can actually be paid twice a year, January and also July. And it's actually aligned with when we get our bonuses. So the bonus that I received in July, I was able to pay the school fees, and the next school fees will be paid in January. But for the school expenses, this school doesn't require any expenses, which I really love, because the expenses, when you pay school fees, it's basically, the back to school expenses or the back to school shopping that they require, this school doesn't require, because once you pay the school fees, it's all inclusive. Household supplies, I do buy my household supplies twice a year. It depends on when we deplete. But I normally plan it for between February and then the second time between October or November. So we still have not finished our toiletries, whether it is paper towels or cleaning supplies, because I buy from Costco and I buy in bulk, and it's and the fact that it's just the two of us in the house, those things tend to last for 6 months. That's what I've seen for the last at least 3 or 4 years, even with the other kids when they are home. Everything as far as household supplies lasts 6 months. So I anticipate on buying more in November, and then the next one will be sometime next year. Then the special event, I don't see. However, I'm putting it there because Thanksgiving is coming up in November. There's the holiday spending, which is December. So I will get to see. So as for what I'm assigning for this month of September is only the clothing because of the uniforms that I will buy. And then because my priority in this season is to pay off debt, I'm assigning $2,500 this month. So my budget tool has got 4 sections. One that shows the income, the other one that shows the fixed monthly assignment, and then the other one that shows the variable monthly assignments. And then the fourth one is a planned non-monthly assignment. This is like a one-time spending because it's something that I've planned. And as I have mentioned, in the month of September, I am assigning for the planned non-monthly assignment just for clothing, which is a school uniform, and of course my priority, which is paying the debt. So the first step is filling this template, and I indicate the amount that I'm planning to spend. Within the month, I am going to start tracking. So, and I mentioned in the previous episode that my tracking, my bank normally sends me a text as well as sends me an email when money comes in and money leaves my account. So I'm able to see what's leaving. So at the end of the month in September, I will sit down with the same template and review. And when I'm reviewing, I will come and now start to indicate my actuals. What was my actual income? Did I have any secondary income? What was the actual? Any other income? What was the actual in the month of September? Because this budget is for the month of September. The same as my fixed monthly assignment. So I will indicate the actuals, the exact amount of money that left my bank account. And I will do the same for the variables. And then I will also do the same for the planned monthly assignments. Then I have this column that shows the difference. And the difference here, it's looking at the planned versus the actual. The plan versus the actual. And then the difference is what I am able to see. Did I underspend or did I overspend? For example, let's say in the month of September, my actual giving, I end up giving $300 instead of $400. So I will have $100 remaining. My mortgage probably will remain the same. The fixed amount doesn't change. So I am doing this to show at the end of September how I will sit down to indicate the actuals that left my bank account. So this is assumptions of the actual, but again, what is normally done here is at the end of the month. And then if something is over or remaining, I will make a notation. I want to understand, why did I give $100 less, right? Why is there some money that is remaining, or why did I overspend? So for example, the groceries, let's say I spent $200. I will give a note, I will indicate a note as we had enough food in the house. So we didn't need to have use the extra 100. Let's say transportation, I end up using 140. I can say less trips. So this is allowing me to analyze my numbers, and this is where my accounting comes from, because I'm looking at the actual that I'm using. Why I had anticipated I will use 300 for groceries. Why then did I use 200? Then I make a notation of that, because guess what? The notes that I indicate or what I discover at the end of the month is what is going to inform me for October when I'm now planning my budget for October. So let's say water goes to 200. And I have overspent by 80. Then that will tell me that we are actually using a lot of water. So there are two things that can happen here, and this is how you analyze now your budget. Number one is for us to be careful and be intentional in using water without wasting it. You can open the tap and let it run. Maybe you're washing dishes and then you start talking to someone while the water is still running. That can create wastage, and that can create your expenses to be high. So I can either decide to say, either we did not, number one, we are going to be intentional in how we are spending our water. Number two is that in October, I will budget, I will plan for 200 instead of 120. So because I overspend on water, this is going to inform my October budget that I need to use 200 instead of 120. Now, another thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, remember my priority this month, the month of September and October, is to pay off debt. I've already paid 40% and I'm hoping to pay by the end of September, at least to pay another 40%, and then 20% will be paid in October. Another thing that I wanted now to bring to your attention is, because my priority is paying off the debt, let me show you how you can actually create more money. Even though I have planned, or I'm assigning 2,500 to go to my debt, there is a way I can decide to give more to my debt. And how do I do that? For example, Hannah's hair. I can decide I will do her hair this month, so I will not incur any expenses. If I do her hair, this 110 that remains here can be added as an actual hair. So I can easily now add the $100, right? Let's say dining out, we decide to use $50 instead of $100. We decide to go to a different restaurant, or maybe just having or buying food and then eating it at home. So that $50 can also be added as an actual for paying off my debt. What else? Let's say electricity ends up being 100, just like in August. Then I can easily say that 100 that I'm saving, I am going to add it to pay off my debt. So that's how, when you have a priority in your season, that any money that is remaining, it doesn't give you, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't give you the liberty to spend it. It doesn't tell you that, oh, now I need to go and buy myself a dress. No, because you've already assigned that in this season, your priority is paying off debt. So any amount of money that is remaining, if you were to calculate the total that is remaining, because the total is also taken into consideration of the overspending. So the remaining amount that is here, you can easily say that is going to pay off my debt. I will add it to paying off my debt. That way, even though I had planned or assigned 2,500 to pay off my debt, I end up paying more. Okay, so that is something that I wanted to show you there. So of course, the money left to assign this right now doesn't make sense to all my viewers. That's because I have decided not to show my income. I'm only showing my actual expenses. And so the totals for part one, it actually feeds into the total monthly income. The section two, the total for my fixed monthly assignments, the 3362, actually feeds into the totals here. This is where they are all summed up. The same as variable monthly and the same as planned non-monthly assignments. So this is basically how a budget looks like. At the end of the day, I want to have a zero. Every money will be assigned. So I want to have zero at the end. Zero again doesn't mean that I have spent all, but it is assigning all my dollars. So whatever that I have remaining, because I have underspent, it doesn't become Christmas is here, I want to buy a dress. No, that also gets to be assigned to whatever it is that I want to assign it to. And sometimes I may decide I will not assign it to my debt. I will put it maybe under an emergency fund. But because my priority right now is paying off debt, I am putting any money that is remaining, any money that I have planned to spend, but it is not spent, it is going directly to the debt. Once I finish the debt, I will start funding my emergency fund, and I will also start funding my retirement. And that is something that I will start teaching in the month of October. I believe in the month of September, what I will teach is more now going through into each and every categories and say, how can I have more income? Or what is it that I need to do to actually increase my total income? What is it that I need to do to either reduce my fixed assignment? What is it that I need to do to reduce my variable monthly assignment? What are other ways that allows me to keep my monthly assignments or expenses very low? For example, I mentioned the grocery. I was able to do a wholesale where I bought meat on wholesale and I put it in the freezer. That allows me then to spend less in a monthly grocery as far as it's concerned, because I've already taken care of the I've bought things on wholesale that can go to a freezer. So, but that will be the episodes from the month of September. Yes, September. So far from the budget template that I just shared, you are able to see how much I've assigned, and I am going to leave it by tracking my expenses that leave my account every month. I will reconcile at the end of the month because I will look at the actuals and then compare between the planned and the actuals. And then from the difference is what I get to learn. I'm learning why did I overspend? I'm learning why did I underspend? And then I will adjust. And then for the month of October, I will assign again. And I'm going to assign it from an informed mind because I've seen how September is. And that's where consistency comes in. It makes more sense when you are doing this every month and you're keeping up with it. So September's budget by itself isn't going to change my financial future. What changes things is if I come back in October and November and December, and if I keep assigning, tracking, reconciling, learning, and adjusting, then that is where consistency becomes key. Consistency is not creating the perfect budget every month, but it is continuing to return to the plan. We have learned so far the vision, and you have seen in my life the vision. Where am I going? What is my priority? What matters most to me right now in this season? What tool fits what I'm trying to accomplish? And then consistency is what I will keep working on the plan. So September is my first month that I'm putting this entire money blueprint together in one place. And at the end of September, I will come back with these numbers. I will reconcile, I will learn from them, and what I will learn will help me build October. You don't need my numbers. You need your numbers. So before the next month begins, sit down and ask yourself, what money is coming in? What assignments are already waiting for it? What is my priority this month? And where do I want my money to go? The blueprint is complete. Now comes the work of building. The blueprint is complete. Now comes the work of building. When we started this series, we did not start with numbers. We started with vision. We identified priorities. We chose a tool that fits our season. And now comes the part that matters, living it consistently. The blueprint is complete. Now comes the work of building. Thank you very much for spending this time with me once again. Until next time, let's learn together, let's build together, and let's become better stewards of what has been entrusted unto us. I am Ruth Kirago, and I'm going to see you in the next episode.